on this ongoing tour. And these are the mainstream outlets which many campaigns court. And Harris is using them to, of course, take the hard questions sometimes, also get her message out. She talked a range of policy and took the questions, again, on the forum that most nominees usually go to, both party nominees. I'll get into why Trump wasn't there, but these are the kind of questions that this cycle, she is the only nominee answering on 60 Minutes.
So what kind of gun do you own, and when and why did you get it?
I have a Glock.
Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem, and solutions are at hand.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
You know, when you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's some of the back and forth. The interview ran about 20 minutes. Again, Trump was not there. Those would be fair questions for him as well. How are you going to get something through Congress? This Congress, which has had multiple Republican speakers, has not been super effective in terms of passing a lot of domestic legislation. I don't say that as a burn, just an observation. But Trump didn't take those questions. And so what the nation saw, and I don't have to remind you, a lot of voters still watched 60 Minutes, was an explanation of why Donald Trump claimed he would do the interview and then misleadingly backed out while Harris was there. This is what people heard.
This year, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump accepted our invitation. But unfortunately, last week, Trump canceled. The campaign offered shifting explanations. First, it complained that we would fact-check the interview. We fact-check every story. Later, Trump said he needed an apology for his interview in 2020.
If he is not going to give your viewers the ability to have a meaningful, thoughtful conversation, question and answer with you, then watch his rallies. You will not hear about how he's going to try to bring the country together, find common ground. And, Bill, that is why I believe in my soul and heart the American people are ready to turn the page.
So that's just some of this playing out on 60 Minutes. But there's also a larger dynamic. If this were a one-off about one show, even a great classic, well-watched news show like 60 Minutes, you might say, okay, the candidate has an issue with that show. Let's not make a whole meal out of it. But I'm going to show you the evidence that there is a whole meal here, even if some of the ingredients are toxic and people have to make up their own mind about what they want to ingest. The information we ingest can be as damaging as other things we put in our body. But the theme here is something I told you about last night. It's bigger than 60 Minutes or any single show. We are seeing Donald Trump run and duck from any place where he thinks he might be held accountable or fact-checked in real time. And that includes places he used to go all the time. Which brings us to the shock jock himself, although he's evolved over the years, Howard Stern. What does Howard Stern have in common with a venerated news magazine show like 60 Minutes? Well, they're both places that were Trump's stomping grounds. Remember, Trump previously went on 60 Minutes and did it last cycle, and we mentioned that. Trump and Stern go back many years. This is actually a picture of then the shock jock and then the real estate magnate, or pretend magnate, depending on which financials you believe, together at one of Trump's weddings, his first. Donald Trump has gone on Howard Stern's show dozens of times. Politico has a whole breakdown on that. So this is exactly the kind of thing that Donald Trump would use on his way up, if you want to call it that. And he used to be able to handle questions from Howard Stern about a whole range of topics. Now what we have is Kamala Harris going on Howard Stern and Donald Trump running away. So his only interviews this week have been on Fox and on a conservative radio show where he thought he would get a certain type of treatment. On Howard Stern, again, like 60 Minutes, a big platform that reaches millions, and not all of them are automatically Biden-Harris administration supporters. Kamala Harris used this interview while Trump runs and hides to discuss her approach, why she's engaging these different forums, and also put it in the context of what I told you is larger than just beef with one show. The larger theme, which you and I may know about and people who follow the news may know about, but in October, as other people tune in, the fact that Donald Trump has a problem with the courts, independent journalism, and any other independent power structure that might hold him accountable, which raises questions about what his second term would be like.
He says he's going to be a dictator on day one. Understand what dictators do. They jail journalists. They put people who are protesting in the street in jail.
He said he thinks he wants to go after Jimmy Kimmel, a comedian. He wants to go after Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers.
If Jimmy Kimmel's not safe, who's safe? It would be a laughing matter, except it isn't. Because those instincts, which Donald Trump is not disavowing, the guy's literally running for president. If you believe these state polls, he seems tied. And even in that context, where the political benefits might run the other way, he still has to blurt out dictator for some of the time. Abuse of power, some of the time. Prosecutors' enemies, maybe. So this is serious stuff. Harris is using this broad swath of different approaches, forums, and media to reach people. That includes the journalistic outlets which do fact check. It includes these radio shows that Trump used to go on when he wasn't running scared. While Trump is burrowing deeper into what you might call his own self-imposed content tunnel. The candidate who, as I reminded you at the top of the show, accused his opponent of ducking hard questions is the one actually avoiding all the hard questions, whether that's from Howard Stern or 60 Minutes, and then seeking refuge on Fox. The harder they fall. Fox is an outlet which broadcasts so many proven election lies that after Donald Trump's loss in 2020, it broadcast those lies and then had to pay a record defamation penalty. So this is not exactly a 60 Minutes level interview here, or even a shock jock interview. Historically, this has been a safe space for MAGA snowflakes. Their term, not ours. But the defamation penalty was so costly that I can show you tonight how this is even changing things over there. Even MAGA allied hosts are doing some fact checking of Trump in real time. So to set up what I'm about to show you, I want to just show a basic fact. Amidst these terrible hurricanes and all the risk we are facing, Kamala Harris visited North Carolina yesterday. Now, that's not a big deal one way or the other. It's what you might expect a sitting vice president and your party nominee to do. I can tell you both candidates, Trump and Harris, have been talking about these threats and have visited some of the affected areas, although on the facts they have a different approach. But that public observable fact is known. So when Donald Trump went on Fox lying and claiming the opposite about Harris, Laura Ingraham corrected him in front of the Fox audience.
But she shouldn't be there anyway. She should be, I would say, North Carolina is bad, is so bad. And
she was there today for 3 hours, I believe, Kamala Harris.
Now, that is not how many Fox evening hosts handled Trump's election lies last campaign season. It is a shift. And notice it comes amidst what I'm telling you about, Trump running away from these other forums I mentioned because of fact-checking, because any adversarial effort to hold him accountable is something that right now he would rather avoid and run from, even if it squares the circle and shreds his own talking points about the other team doing the thing he's doing. The point I'm exploring here with you tonight is not chiefly about ideology or partisanship, not about whether people vote for one party or the other, which is a rich tradition in our country, and you should do your homework and vote for whoever you choose. I'm not speaking in partisanship, which comes up plenty in campaigns. I'm speaking about a deeper fault line, which I also reported on last night. It's a fault line over facts right now. The MAGA GOP increasingly uses lies as a litmus test. You have to support the lies for Trump to be in good standing with the party. And Trump awaits a federal trial about election fraud and coup lies. And when a political party wields lies and propaganda for power, it does not usually stay neatly contained to just some lies for the leader or just one topic. Those are the kind of rationalizations we've heard, even right here in this desk, from some Trump allies or former allies. The lies and disinfo, for example, are spreading now to the federal government's response to Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton, and they have consequences. Emergency response officials say the misinformation is confusing residents who could be in danger. There are echoes here of what it was like when Donald Trump was president. You remember the COVID response, the many lies, the disinformation, the bleach. People have memory hold that, but that matters. That's the person in charge, how they wield the awesome authority they have in office. Bob Woodward now revealing new scoops about Trump sending COVID tests to Putin's regime back then. There's echoes of then President Trump doing the disinfo he did in real time when he infamously doctored a hurricane map with a Sharpie. I've told you before, politics is often too important to be left to politicians. Tonight I will update that with something else that is basic, but sometimes I share with you basic, straightforward things and repeat them. The truth is way too important to be left up to political liars who do not seem to care whether you, the public, live or die. We have two special guests here, Juanita and Melanie, when we're back.
The biggest savings event of the year continues this holiday weekend at More Furniture. Join us as we celebrate with unbelievable discounts on fall arrivals for every room in your home. Visit your local showroom and get our very best offer when you pay no money down, subtract the tax, and pay absolutely no interest until January 2026. You'll also get free white glove delivery, and we'll remove and donate your gently used pieces locally. Hurry into your local showroom today for the best selection.
Grandpa and I used to work on this together, and when I'm gone, I want you to have it.
Doesn't count. What you need is a will, something you can sign and make official. Start your will at trustandwill.com and make it count.
Target Circle Week is here, folks. Get ready for 7 days of big deals.
I want to talk about the Godot.
The GOAT.
No, the Godot, the greatest deal of all time.
For me, it's the KitchenAid mixer.
No.
You don't even bake.
It's
35% off.
You know what? Let's toss it over to Gina.
Everyone's loving these automatic deals, guys.
40% off.
Oh, he is cleaning up the savings.
30% off? Yes, please.
Well, there you have it. 7 days of big deals.
I'm getting my big deal right now.
At Bombas, we make the most comfortable socks in the history of feet. So comfortable, you'll wish you had more. Visit Bombas.com and get 20% off your first order.
Baby boomer.
Generation X.
Millennial. Gen Z.
Many people went from protest to revolution.
I could be dead in a ditch somewhere and my parents wouldn't know.
You could not get on the internet and the phone at the same time.
What you're going to have from Gen Z are a bunch of activists.
Every election night reveals a story about the candidates, about the campaign that we just watched, but it reveals a story about the voters who decided the election. The presidential election is America's family photo. We take one every 4 years.